Welcome back, Mr. Mike Sanchez, to the Collin Man's Answer Show. This is your second time on. We had to do it at a Starbucks. Let's just give people a rundown of what's been happening this last hour.
Let's
Um,
let's.
so we started off. You just joined the link, and and then all of a sudden you were freezing a little bit, and so now you're outside of Starbucks, and what you just said is perfect, just for everyone to live their life by. When something happens, you could either like look at it from a negative standpoint and be like, oh, fuck it, I'm not doing it. Or you can make shit happen. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, bro. We were having some trouble with my home Wi-Fi, and we had a scheduled time to do this. I'm a man of my word. If I say something, I'll make it happen, man. I'm out here at Starbucks, about to start this podcast with my brother Collin. Second time here. I'm excited.
So, let's start with a question I've had for you when I saw it happen. What happened with your injury? How did it happen? Where are you going from now from that? Just give us a little rundown of what happened.
Yeah, for sure, man. Uh, just to make it clear, I know it sucks, man. It even hurts for me to say, but this wasn't a sport related injury. I am a professional boxer, but it wasn't a sport related injury. So this happened about 4 months now. I was actually off roading. I was on a quad out with the family I'm out here from Cali, from the Inland Empire. We were out in Desert, Desert Springs, I believe, about an hour from where I stay. We were out there on some sand dunes. We were off-roading on quads. Long story short, um, I made a wrong turn. I lost control, and I fell off my ATV. Landed on my shoulder. Um, Went to the ER. About 30 minutes later, we were in the middle of nowhere, really. So it was hard to get to a hospital, but we did, and got X-rays done, this and that. For a second, I had thought I had dislocated my shoulder, but the injury is a bit different. What I suffered from is what we call an AC joint separation. So that has to do with the ligaments that connect the shoulder and the clavicle, the collarbone, in other words. So those were ruptured, pretty bad. I've been going to different doctors. I've seen two doctors now, just getting different opinions. I actually made my way to Mexico last weekend for a second opinion out there, and yeah, I got a third appointment out here in California in the upcoming 2 weeks. So from there, I have a more accurate, um, I guess, diagnose of
Mm-hmm.
what's next. What's next?
Yeah. Where, yeah, okay. So the AC joint, that happens a lot in football.
It
Um,
does.
it's inside your shoulder, right? It's not your collarbone, it's your shoulder, correct?
So yeah, the joint, like I said, it's what connects the shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
The I believe that the right term is a acromion, which is basically like the shoulder blade, and the clavicle. So the clavicle we have here, it's the joint that connects those two together. So that joint in between was ruptured.
Mm.
Um, so yeah, that's what I have right now. So I can't really. It's been 4 months since the incident, so I mean I'm able to do daily activities. I'm able to lift a couple pounds, not much. I can't go back to my regular boxing training. I try doing somewhat of what boxing consists of, but I can't really do much. I can't hit the heavy bag, that's for sure. So I just be running, I be jump roping. I try to shadow box, although I do get some pain after I do it a long period of time.
Yeah, it's got to be tough not doing the one thing you love, not being able to train, especially because, people forget that like sports, especially with regarding to the cardio in the sports and training, that it has some endorphin effect on your brain. It's sports are not just a like physical activity in and of itself. It's also a mental activity. It also strengthens the mind, especially things like boxing, which is like hand-to-hand combat, and football, which is like almost a team sport, but it's still that physical activity. And people forget that it has a large part on athletes' mindset. So how have you been getting through, been staying positive, in a time where you can't do the one thing that like you love to do?
I gotta tell you, bro, It's been tough. It's been real tough. Like you said, boxing is something I do love. Uh, so being out of it for a little over 4 months now, it's really tough on my mind, and it's just boxing in a way. It was my I was building it to be my career, which I am, but it was also a type of release. Everybody has their own way of releasing, right? That was my way. So cutting back from that, it's really, really tough on my mind. I try to do other activities. I'm a real book nerd. Uh, I read a lot now more than before. So I've been reading. Uh, I check out different podcasts. Um, yours is one of them, brother. You're doing an excellent job. I'm really proud of what you're doing, man. It's something real dope. And shit, you're going to the top, man. You have it. You have it. You have the confidence. You have the work ethic. I see it on social media. You have the positivity, and shit. You're just getting started, brother. Just keep
Thanks,
going.
man. Means a lot.
Absolutely. But like I said, boxing, man, it was just my type of release. Now I'm focusing on other stuff. Uh, More focused on really the mind now. I can't really do much physical activity, but I'm trying to stimulate my mind differently. Um, so that's yeah.
Yeah, like I was saying, I think a lot of people don't understand that sports, especially those really tough sports, the amount of stimulation you get in your brain from it, it's equivalent to like a strain, like learning education, or like you said, like podcasting or things like that. It's a very it's a very big enhancement stimulant to the mind, and when I struggled, I still am struggling with injuries, but so I broke my foot freshman year of college, and I sat out all spring ball. And then sophomore year, which was last year, of my fall semester, so of the year before COVID, or the
Uh-huh.
semester before COVID, I tore my labrum in my hip, which is basically it's like the ball and socket joint that holds your hip in place. And so I tore that, and it's a really big injury for like kickboxers, kickers in my case. And so I had to sit out, and I never got surgery, and it still bugs me once in a while. And then this last year COVID hit, and I didn't get to play my junior year. Thankfully I got a 2-game spring season this last semester. But I've been out of it for basically 2.5 years. And podcasting was one thing that I found that stimulated my brain in the way that football did. And when I know you understand this is why I was asking you, is like when you get that sport just ripped from you, it's like you almost got to find a new identity.
Hmm. Absolutely, bro. It's it's tough to find it really because when you're used to doing such activity for I've been doing this for years, man. I've been boxing since I was 14 years of age. I'm 24 now, so basically 10 years, man. 10 years of uh, receiving the same stimuli of the feeling you get when you train, and just being taken away in a flash of a second, man. It's real tough finding that high, you can say, all over again.
Yeah, I'm glad you're doing things like social media and, trying to grow your own brand, Mr. Mike Mondays and things like that, because, you know, you do something that's so engaging and like takes up all your time. And like I was saying, when it's ripped from you, it's really easy to fall into a depressive state, or to fall in like feeling in pity or feeling sorry for yourself. And you haven't really shown that on social media or anything. You stay positive. I remember one specific clip that I saw of you was you were talking about you were at work and you were working hard, and some older lady was like, "Hey, don't like take it easy on yourself,"
Yeah,
basically.
yeah.
And you really had to think about that for a second. And that's another thing. It's like working too hard when you already are injured. It's that happy medium between finding a new thing or finding another area you love, while also still remembering that you have to get back at boxing, or you want to get back to boxing at some point.
Yeah, man, that story from the lady at work, I was so due to my injury, I requested an accommodation at work. So I'm restricted on doing certain things. Um, so HR and I work for Amazon, so we have safety team. It's a big company, so the safety team's got my back, HR's got my back, paperwork is there. If a manager, let's say, says me to do something that I'm incapable of doing at the moment, I could say, you know what, this and that, I'm accommodated, I have the paperwork. uh but me personally, man, like, I'm a hard worker. Like, every single thing I do, I put in my all. And it's just a way of being. And sometimes that can hurt you. And I'm glad that lady brought it up. I was leaning into doing stuff at work that I wasn't that I shouldn't be doing because of my condition. And that lady reminded me, like, hey, because she knew I'm real cool with a lot of people there. So I told her about my situation, and she knew I was injured. And she told me, like, hey, you got to take care of yourself. If you don't take care of yourself, no one else will. And that really hit hard. You are the number one priority. If you don't take care of yourself, nobody else will. You got to look out for yourself. In order to help others, you have to be 100% yourself first.
No, for sure. And that's another thing people forget a lot is that they're the number one priority in their life. It's really easy to fall into the trap, or I wouldn't necessarily call it a trap, but the area where you're putting other people before yourself. And I'm not saying that's not a good thing, because people have children, people have loved ones. But when you start putting other people over yourself and never giving yourself the time that you need to give yourself, it's bad. I remember I saw this Jordan Peterson clip one time, and he was like, take care of yourself like you were someone you love. Take care of yourself like you would take care of someone you love. And that really like hit home, because we tend to be our hardest critic. We tend to be the people who hate ourselves the most. With the epidemic of mental health and suicide going on and depression, we tend to be the hardest people on each other, on ourselves. And so, like, to remind yourself that you're important and that you deserve your own love, self-love, I think that's really important, especially during a time like COVID, where kind of the family time has been taken away for a year.
Yeah, man. I think COVID really affected us all one way or another. And I think the people who remained positive and kept grinding, kept working, they're seeing the effects of it now in 2021, for sure.
I think COVID brought out two things. There was the people who really flourished and found something that they loved to do during COVID. They took this bad opportunity and made it great. And then there was the people who were really hit hard, and that their life kind of took a downward spiral almost. And I think the people who were able to look at glass half full, they're really flourishing in today's time. I don't want to say that I'm like flourishing, but like COVID helped me start this podcast and helped me stop being a little pussy, and like really like got my foot in the door and made me like really be like, all right, I can do this. And there's a lot of stories like that. There's a lot of stories of people starting things, people finally getting out of that bad job that they hated. And there's also a lot of stories of people losing their jobs and then being stuck on stimulus checks and wasting it all on alcohol and becoming alcoholics and things like that. And that is a horrible problem. And I think us as Americans need to talk about three things. One, the insane problem that is around non-exercising and eating like shit. The second one is the opioid and drug addiction, and then alcohol dependency. Those are the three things that affect, and those all tie in with mental health, clearly. And those all tie in with American life. And those are three things we don't really necessarily talk about. COVID hit, and we're not talking about how everyone's drinking 3 glasses of wine a night, not even 3 glasses of wine, like cases of alcohol a night. We're not talking about how people are eating like shit and not working out. And we're not talking about how people are taking pain pills because they get trapped by these commercials. Like, oh, you have foot pain? Here you go. Here's all the side effects, but take this. We don't talk
Easy
about,
fixes.
yeah, we don't talk about how, there's these problems that are drastically affecting American society, and we just kind of let them act like they're normal.
Hmm. Yeah, it's real bad behavior that people choose. I wouldn't say bad. That's the wrong term. It's the easy option, right? And unfortunately, it's the option that's pushed by society, by the media, by the people around us. Uh, and I, I think you feel the same as I do. I feel like we need to reverse that and spread a different idea, a different solution, a more healthy, a more productive habit. To overcome all this, the mental health and just all the negative vibes that are out there.
Misery breeds company. Um, but so does positivity. I was talking about something. I think I was talking about this with my girlfriend actually. There's a guy in the car driving next to us, and he was just living his life, and he was dancing and he was singing, and you
Mhm.
just smile. You can't not
Mhm.
smile when you see someone just like glowing almost. And that is so true. Like positivity, when someone's being positive regardless of the situation, you just can't help but like feel better and smile. And it's the same thing happens with people who are just crabs, just absolute negativity like coming off of them. You just feel worse. You feel like down, but it's so easy to have a situation where, let's talk about what just happened with us. The Wi-Fi is going weird. It's so easy to where we could have just been like, um, fuck this, man. I just got this Wi-Fi, should be working, or like, man, I want to do this podcast at 10. Instead we were like, you know what? You're gonna go to Starbucks. We're gonna sit down. We're gonna have a great conversation. It's so easy to just fall into these negative traps and be like, you know what? It's 5 o'clock somewhere and drink a beer or something like that. And I'm not saying drinking is not fun. I love drinking. I love having fun with my friends. I'm just saying that, I play sports, I podcast, I grind, I work out, and I do things that better myself. And I think people need to realize that even if you try to be positive, your life will be better. Try for a week. Try for a week to just smile more, say positive things, feel grateful for the things you do have, hug your loved ones, hug your dogs. You'll feel better. Stop saying stupid shit.
Yeah, man, I'm a big believer in feeling grateful, man. Especially the last couple of days, it's something I've practiced a lot. Just appreciating and yeah, appreciating and being grateful for what you have. Like what you have has made you who you are up to this moment. Like people are always wanting more. And don't get me wrong, wanting more, I mean, it's marvelous, man. We should all strive for more. We should all strive to be a better person, to uh, maybe obtain or a thing or two. You like those shoes, cool. Grind your ass off and go get them. But where I'm coming from is you should accept where you are at the moment, be okay with what you have, and work your ass off in order to get what you want in the future. Because if you have the idea of always wanting more and never being, I don't want to say satisfied, but content with what you have at the moment, you're never gonna feel fulfilled because you're always gonna feel empty. You're always gonna have that urge that something is out there that's gonna make you complete, and that's not the way to think, in my opinion, because you're gonna be striving for this fantasy that you might not ever get, and during the process you're gonna feel empty.
I remember this story. I'll tell it to you guys and the listeners. So there was two brothers, right? And they came from not a poor family, but a family who was low middle class. And so there was one brother and there's another brother. One of the brothers never really, never really cared about materialistic things. He kind of just lived his life. And the other brother, he would see his friends have this new toy, and he would ask his parents. His parents said, "Oh, we don't have that." Then, then he would ask. Then he would want a car. He would see his friends having a car, and he would ask his parents, he's like, "Oh, we have a family car you can share. We just don't have the money right now." And then he grew up, and he always wanted more. He worked his ass off, and he finally got into the head of the company, but he never felt fulfilled. He never got married. He never had kids because he was grinding his ass off so much. And he finally got to the top, and he still wanted more and more and more. While his brother, who never really cared about materialistic things, settled down, had a middle-class family, found out that he loved music, started his own hobby, had a family, and he felt so complete. He felt like his life was complete. He was very grateful for what he had. And his brother was like, one day they were sitting at a campfire, and his brother's like, I'm this guy. I'm super rich. I'm a CEO. Why are you so much happier than me? You have nothing compared to what I have. And the brother looks at him and he goes, no, you have nothing compared to what I have. I have everything you don't. I have a loving family. I have, when I look at my life, I see my glass is full. When you look at your life, you see like there's still more stuff to put into it. And I think that's a testament to, one, human society, and two, just people in general. If you don't take the time to understand that there is always someone, and this is not don't take this in the wrong way. There's always someone in a worse spot than you, and there's always someone that's going to be in a better spot than you, no matter who you are. If you don't take the time to realize that does not matter, you're always where you are in that moment, and be grateful for what you do have and what you have had, and you'll never be happy, and you'll always be wondering what could have been or what can be.
That's very true, man. That's a very good way to put it, man. You gotta be grateful for what you have now, what you have at the moment, and that's gonna push you to. No, I wouldn't say push you. That's gonna make you feel better at the moment. It's gonna make you live the present. A lot of us are too caught up in the past. Going back to my injury, I could sit down here and ask myself, why did that happen, or how could have that happened, or why, like, damn, I could have been bummed out thinking of different ways how would I have avoided this situation. But at the end of the day, what's done is done. I can't go back in the past and change what happened. And if I live in the past, I'm gonna see. This is where I believe people create their own anxiety at times, or their own stress, because they're too caught up in the past. They're too caught up in trying to change the past. The past is over. There is no way you can go back and change it. You have to accept the past. Acceptance. From there, you can work today, at the moment, in the present, in order to change your future, to maybe not commit the same mistake you made a couple years ago, to better yourself and become a better person from what you were a year ago, right? I see the past as a way to analyze and reflect on what you were, or what type of person you were at the moment. Reflect on it, see how you can change it, and take the measures, the action, in order to become a better person.
I just saw this quote on Instagram, and it was from an old philosopher, and he said, if you regret, you're living in the past. If you're anxious, you're living in the future. And if you're at peace, you're living in the present. And I think that is beautiful, because I find myself doing this all the time, living in the future, worrying about things that probably are not going to happen. And I know that 99% of the people listening to me right now do the exact same thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's human nature to avoid things that are going to kill them. It's going back to evolution.
Survival, yeah.
Survival. But now it's like we're worrying about missing a kick, or this podcast messing up, or me accidentally not turning in a paper. We're worried about things that have nothing really to do with our life, about surviving, and they have more to do about society and societal pressure. And while those are all good, like, you should want to be in society, you should want to be like striving the best you can be. The worry is just going to, there was another famous quote, if you're worrying, you're putting yourself through it twice. If it's going to happen, it's going to happen. It's going to suck. It's going to suck. But why put yourself through it twice? Well, why put yourself through it at all if it's not going to happen? And I should take my own advice in this, because I do this all the time. But, it's like I said, if you regret, you're living in the past. If you're worrying, you're living in the future. And if you're at peace, you're living in the present.
So so we're aware of this, right? Of what you just said, of thinking of something, of something in the past, or maybe anticipating something in the future and worrying about it and feeling like shit about it at the moment. And we are aware of that. So how do you think, like, what's the way, like, we know the answer, we know, we're aware of it, but why do we keep committing the same mistake? Because I committed as well, man, don't get me wrong, but why do we do it? Is it human nature?
I think so. I think, like I said, it goes back to us. Like, if you were not in society, if you were exercised from the pack, then you were dead, you know? And so wanting to be successful, and like the successful men got all the girls and they had the children. And so there's this need to breed. There's also this need to be alive, and there's this need to be wanted. I think anxiety comes from two places. One is you feel like society is gonna like look down on you if you fail, and then the other one is that internal, like, it's all about fail. It's that internal desire to not want to fail, and that all goes back to death. We all understand that we're going to die one day, and so what failing shows us is that we're imperfect and we're vulnerable. And so unless you let go of that fear of your mortality and live in the moment and understand that you're alive, you'll never get away from that anxiety. It's because being reminded that you're vulnerable is a reminder that we're all going to die one day, and is a reminder that we have a limited time. And maybe you're not afraid of death per se, but you're afraid of not fulfilling your potential before you die, And that is a big thing that people worry about. And worrying about the future is all worrying about that one moment where you're not here anymore. Realistically, that's what it is. And so that internal desire to want to be successful before you go, or not go at all, is what really holds people back from truly living their life in the moment, I think.
Looking at it at a more positive way, I mean, that's the greatest thing that we could ever feel, man. That pushes us to do better, to be better, to have goals, to strive for more, to build stuff, to create, to express yourself, to much more people. It's really, it's I would say a pro con thing. You can look at it a negative way or a positive way. It's I believe it's a balance we have to find in order to do what we to work at our fullest potential here at our time on earth, man, really.
So Kierkegaard, he's a famous philosopher, and I just saw this video, and they were comparing him to a Rick and Morty, something Rick said. I don't know if you watch Rick and Morty, but I love that show. It's very philosophical. But Rick was like, they were talking about these infinity stones that show them like each possible way that they could die in a moment. And Rick said, anybody who knows that they're going to die is something or just lame. And that's a very Kierkegaardian thing, because like that's that not knowing, that unknown that the future holds, like I was saying, that brings the fear, but it also is the most important fact of life. It's the most fun thing of life. Last night, I'll give you an example. Thinking about doing this, I finished 2 papers. I was drained for my finals, and then I made 3 clips for later in the week to post from this podcast that I didn't do clips on. And then I was laying in bed, and I drank a couple like Trulies just because I was like, it was the end of the night and I'd been done with finals. So I was like relaxing and I was working on some stuff, and I just couldn't sleep at first because I was so excited just to be alive. And this sounds so corny, but I swear to God, I was thinking about this podcast, thinking about drinking that Bang, getting that little caffeine buzz. I was thinking about like grinding the podcast, being done with finals, starting summer, enjoying the fruits of my labor. And I was just excited to live. And I haven't felt that way in a very long time. Just excited to be alive and excited to live in a state where I don't know what's going to happen. Because it's very easy to be like negative about the future. Be like, oh, there's scary thing that's going to happen. But I was just pure bliss last night. And it all comes back to that Kierkegaardian thing is we don't know what's going to happen. We'll never know what's going to happen. Anybody who knows what's going to happen or the way they're going to die is just a lame person, because it's that unknown that creates the fun of life.
And I think that could be tied up to I would say faith. When you have faith and not really stepping into the religious side of it, but just faith in general, when you have, for example, like you were excited for something in the future. You had faith that the future would be good, that it would be something you would enjoy. You had hope that stuff came out as planned, that you were positive that what you had planned would just be the way you had planned it. You had faith in a positive outcome. And I think that's a way we all should think. We shouldn't see faith as, I personally don't see my faith like combined with the religion. No, my faith just is more of a it's more of a positive way of thinking, that stuff is going to be all right, and that my way of thinking is just gonna happen how I see it, man.
So I would call myself a religious person. I would call myself Christian. I believe in God. I believe in, because growing up I was obviously religious, but just one thing that I've had to deal with is, like, I would call myself pretty intelligent. And philosophy and God don't really mix very well, because like once you can go down a rabbit hole in philosophy, and it comes back to that faith. That's the whole thing about religion, is it's faith. And once in a while things happen though, and not that they happen for a reason, but they're too coincidental that they're not coincidences in my mind. They're not coincidences because they're so coincidental. They're so like almost perfect. They're almost in line. I've told this story many times on my podcast, but one of the examples is when I get really down and I have a really bad, I should not do this. I really only pray when I'm in a bad place, and that's horrible. I should be praying, since I am religious, should be praying all the time. But I have this tendency to just drive and pray when I'm in a bad place, mentally, physically, just emotionally, anything, And so leading up to this, my girlfriend, I had never had a girlfriend before, but I love girls. I wanted one. I was just a normal guy, and I was driving and I was like, man, why isn't it? Everyone's getting relationships, I know. And I was like, why isn't it ever happening for me? Why haven't I experienced love in the way that all my friends have? Why am I not deserving of love? Where is my girl? And then like a week later, maybe less than a week, I met my girlfriend, and I've been with her ever since. And that's so coincidental, but it's almost like, I feel like God, the universe, whatever you believe in, plays tricks on us once in a while, where they're like, well, I've been showing you it. It's just like, if you take the bait. One of my favorite quotes of all time was from Pursuit of Happiness. It's Jaden Smith. He tells a story about a man on a boat and he's about to drown. His boat sinks, he's about to drown. And a boat comes by and he says, hey, let me help you. And he's like, no, thank you. God will save me. And then another boat comes by and he's like, hey, let me help you. He's like, no, thank you. God will save me. And the man drowns and dies. And he goes to heaven. And he asks God, he's like, hey, God, why didn't you save me? And he's like, hey, dummy, I sent you 2 boats. And I think that's a testament to just faith, religion, God, the universe, is that, I'll say he for my sake, he sends us things our way, and it's our decision if we take the bait or if we choose to open our hearts to them or not,
Dude, I don't believe in coincidences at all, man. I feel like if a situation were to arise and you can say, hey, what a coincidence, I feel like the actions taken by you in the past had created such event, created such opportunity, created such tragedy. I I don't know, man. And this is just from a personal standpoint. Like the way I see my life now and the stuff that's happening to me up to this day, I really don't see anything as a coincidence. I see it as my actions basically coming into fruit. Either my positive or negative actions in the past, they're coming into fruit. If I've been doing good my whole life, then good opportunities will arise. If I've been doing maybe more negative, more bad actions in the past, then maybe negative uh, events will occur because of my choices, my decisions before today.
Sounds like karma, man. That's what it sounds like.
I'm a
Good and
big
bad.
believer in karma.
Yeah.
It's cause and effect.
That's a big proponent of determinism. Do you know what determinism is?
I've heard it, but I don't know.
It's basically that humans necessarily don't have free will because of the circumstances that they've been placed in since birth, and that everything has a cause and effect. And you can take determinism all the way back to the Big Bang, that everything's happening right now is happening because of cause and effect.
Mm,
And so I'm kind of a mixture of determinism and free will. Like, I believe that our circumstances of life, like, let's give an example. So I'm not saying that everybody that is a part of gang violence is a problem that has stemmed since slavery, but I will say that there is a determining factor of keeping people. Can you hear me?
yeah.
Okay. Of keeping people of color, primarily African Americans, black men of American, um, in slums because of redlining, and that can stem back to Jim Crow, and that can stem back to slavery, you know? And so I'm
Mhm.
not saying that gang violence today is someone robbing because of their brother got them into it or something. They like someone dying in gang violence or being thrown in prison is from gang violence. That stems all the time. That stems back to slavery. But there is a causation of the line. You can clearly draw the line, you know. And so things like that, you know, we don't necessarily determine who we're going to be all the time, but we do have some determining factors on what we believe right and wrong. Do you understand what I'm saying? Um, and now there is another thing to be said about rationality and morality. Like, we can look at the Nazi Germany and how they rationalized killing off Jewish people because of earlier World War I and Germany being put in poverty. And that's clearly immoral to anyone who's, you know, has any rationality. But it was easy for them to rationalize it because of the circumstances and the way that Hitler was charismatic. And so there is something to be said about rationalizing immoral acts, but I believe that, you know, not always do we get to determine what we're going to believe, who we're going to be, how we act, you know?
I can agree with that, man. Um, yeah, well, we're a product of an environment. Um, yeah, I mean, that kind of brought to my mind this. So let's say, for example, I'm use myself as an example. Okay, I I started boxing when I started when I was 8. Really, I trained for a year. I left and I came back when I was the age of 14. But I mean, my goal is to become champion of the world. I want to, leave my mark in the sport of boxing. Now, many would say, even I could say, I was born for this, right? I was born to be a fighter. I was born to be champion of the world. I have it. I'm that guy. Well, was I really born for this? Or am I just a product of my environment? The stuff that I've lived beforehand as a child, the events I went through, the the family that brought me up, what was presented to me as a child, what sports, uh, what type of behavior was given, not behavior, what type of love and care was given to me as a child to maybe give me the confidence, to give me the urge to become a fighter, and slowly growing up, acquiring more qualities, a sense of confidence, a sense of aggressiveness to fight. What was I really born to fight, or was I created little by little to become a great fighter, or to become just a fighter in general? And I think it's that. I think people are not born to be anything, we are created to be uh, what is given to us at an early stage of life, right? Either being our environment, our parents, stuff, tragedies that may occur. I mean, you have like, we can say the best athletes in the world come from the slums, from the gutters, right? From poor backgrounds. You know, that could be a push to succeed. That can be a push to maybe prove something, or prove people wrong, or prove yourself right. Or it can create hunger for you to be something for your family, or bring your family up with you. And I really think that's what it is. But us as a society, it's easier to say, well, you know, that guy over there, he had it. He just had the skills. He was born with the skills. He just has the attitude. He has the qualities to become this or that. But I think it's maybe an excuse from other people from not really reaching their full potential.
I just saw Joe Rogan. I watched one of his podcasts. It's my biggest influence. But he was like,
He's a dope guy, man. I hear him out.
he is
Real
the
smart guy, man.
yeah.
Sometimes it takes me time to dissect what he's saying, because it's
Mhm.
so, just smart guy, man. Real smart dude.
He is the godfather of podcasting. He created what we all know today, why people listen to podcasts, why people listen to shows. He created why I'm doing it, for sure. Or at least the biggest influence on why I do it. But I was watching one of his episodes, and he was always talking about how people always come up to him and he's like, man, like, I'm like, it's so crazy what you do. Like, I could never do what you do. And he was like, yes, you could. If you were me, you could do it, you know? And that was that they got into the determinism stuff and everything like that. He was talking about it with Ethan Suplee, the dude who was like really, really obese from Remember the Titans, who got really skinny and jacked.
Okay, yeah.
They were talking about like determinism and how some people are conditioned to be like overweight and things like that from their society, or to feel bad about themselves and things like that. And you know, I think a lot of the uprising that we're seeing today from the left, the progressives, because like technically people who lean left tend to be more empathetic, you know, to other people, to human rights. You would like to think that. Far left, you get to communism, you can make an argument for it's not empathetic at all. But people who lean to the left, moderate left people, tend to be empathetic, especially young kids. And you can make an art. What was I going with this? Oh yeah, I think a lot of the uprising is like we're seeing about BLM, and you know, you always talk about the gender equality and things like that. Is not that necessarily everything that's being pushed is true, because I mean, obviously I'm a white man, and so by people telling me I'm just suck from birth, that kind of doesn't make me feel good. But you know, I think a lot of it comes from this urge to not want this societal pressure over everybody, you know? And I think if we could get away from this us versus them mentality and becoming like it almost like human society versus what American society has been, that pressure to need to be successful, because that's really what it is. You know, it's whenever women talk about white men, they always say that, oh, it's the patriarchy, that's why men are more successful in societies, because white men only have the opportunities. Same thing with race, and same thing with sexuality and everything. It's always the success, the societal pressure to be successful. And if we could just understand that like everybody's on their own path, there's only one race, the human race, I think we'd be a lot better off. You know, I think most people are not racist or misogynistic. Maybe more people are misogynistic than racist, because the genders are different, and that men's sports versus women's sports. But I think most people are good people, and if we just got away from this idea that we're different, we'd be in a lot better shape.
I totally agree. Totally agree.
But yeah, back to you, man. This has been a great conversation, but let's go back to you and let's talk about boxing. What's the number one thing you miss about it?
The high I get from boxing, man. Um, you know, there's nothing more primal, I would say, than having someone in front of you trying to smash your head in, and you able to retaliate, to respond and survive, really. There's nothing more primal than that, man. It just comes back to survival. You have a guy in front of you that's trying to kill you, and you have the choice, the opportunity to do that to him as well. It's you or him. It's one versus one on one. There's nothing like it, man. There's nothing like it. Uh, and I don't know if you've ever tried combat sports or not, but man, if you have it, it's something I would encourage you to do so because it's a unique feeling that can't be compared to anything, man.
I've dabbled in boxing training, but I've never I mean, I've sparred like friends and stuff, but I would love to get in like jujitsu and boxing and things like that because martial arts is something that fascinate me like to my core. I love UFC. That's like one of my favorite sports. I watch it every time there's a card on. There might be one on tomorrow. But I watch it every time there's a card, bigger cards.
You see Usman Masvidal, number
Yep,
two?
of course I did. I thought Masvidal was gonna be better in that fight, but I mean Usman is a killer,
He's a monster, man.
monster.
Um, I'm not a big fan of any fighters or any basically role model really, but if I'd have to choose a few, Usman would be one of them, man. His character, the way he presents himself, the way he is kind of like something I see myself being if I get to that level, when I get to that level. Like his just the way his mentality, his just the way he is, his character, man, it's something I really do appreciate, man. Nowadays we have a lot of fighters that they're divas, man. They ain't real fighters. They ain't real fighters. They ain't real killers. They don't want to go out there and really risk their life to to come out victorious and put their family's name, in honor. They don't know. They don't want none of that shit nowadays. Now fighters are just doing it for the money, and that's real sad. Boxing is more than just money, in my opinion, man. Boxing is it's it's really a way to show to represent your culture and your roots and where you come from and defy all odds, man. And I think a lot of fighters have lost that mentality, that reason for fighting. And I think Usman is one of the few guys who has it, man. He's just a killer. You can see it in his eyes, man. Like I could see it in his eyes. He's just a killer, man. I don't see anybody beating him at the moment. He just got it. If he's that guy, man. He just has it. And like I said, this is real rare of me to say because I don't think a lot of guys are that guy or a lot of guys have it. But I'm sure he has it. I'm sure he does.
All right, so you were talking about how a lot of fighters are divas today, and a lot of them are just doing it for the money. So that brings me to this: how do you feel about Jake Paul?
Hey, I can't hate on Jake Paul because we all know he's doing it for the money. You see, that's my thing. A lot of fighters claim to want to be great, claim to be warriors, to be that guy, to be not bullshitting. But the end of the day, they fold. They don't show those qualities. They don't represent those qualities at the end of the day. See, Jake Paul, we all know his history, his background. He's a YouTuber. He's an entertainer, and I wouldn't say he says it, but we're aware of his background. Yes, he plays it. He plays it real good. He plays it to being an actual fighter, but he's really an entertainer. You can't hate him for joining the sport to make some good money. Like I'm a lot of people hate those YouTuber fighters, but hey, they're doing their thing. And you know what? And when you look at it at a more positive way, they're bringing more eyes into boxing because boxing really was slowly dying. It really was. And it hurts my soul to say, man, boxing is not the same anymore. But these YouTubers are getting more eyes on boxing. It's just going to take real fighters to show that boxing isn't a game, that boxing is a real deal, that it's the gentleman's sport, that it's the killer warrior sport everybody has known, since it started. And I think the YouTubers, like I said, is just a way of getting attention to boxing, but the real fighters need to step up. If there's any real fighters out there left, that need to step up and show the world what boxing is about.
I will say this about Jake Paul. More people, I mean, besides Mayweather and maybe Pacquiao and maybe like Tyson Fury but even Tyson Fury, but regardless of like besides Mayweather, basically, more people know Jake Paul than real boxers.
Yeah.
And that is wild. Like more people be like, "Oh, Jake Paul is boxing," and more people have watched his fights than have watched the last boxing fights, and that is wild to think about that. That he might be the second most famous boxer right now. That's honestly one horrible because like there's like you said like it like you would it's not horrible in the sense that like he's like he doesn't deserve it because he did like he is this entertainer, but it's horrible in the sense that real boxers don't have that attention. Like you said, I think it is going to take him boxing a real boxer for people to be like, oh man, realize. So that's why I think the Mayweather Logan Paul fight is going to be very big,
bro. But these fights aren't real fights though, man.
No,
like they ain't real fights. I'm 99.9% they ain't real fights. They're just money grabbers, man. Like we're in 2021 now, man. See, Jake Paul, he's an opportunist, man. He knows what's going on in the world right now with technology and especially social media. He knows how to get money. He knows how to get his bag. And you can't blame a man for getting his bag. You can't blame him. If anything, it's the real fighters' fault for not promoting themselves how they should be, for not using social media as an advantage to get their name out there. See, if you do that, and if you are a real boxer and have real fighting skills, and you are a true warrior, you got the full package, man. But I think a lot of fighters they're too stuck in the old school days when you had to be a great fighter and a great fighter only to become successful in the sport of boxing. Now it's different. You have to be a great fighter. You gotta have skills and the qualities to become champion of the world, but you also have to know how to promote yourself. Be aware of what's going on in social media. And in a way, we don't need promoters nowadays anymore. All you need is yourself. A fighter doesn't need a promoter. If a fighter knows how to promote himself the right way, he doesn't need a promoter.
Trash talking.
And see, me personally, I would draw a line to what I would do, to how I would promote myself. There's a line I would draw in the attention I get. Because although I do want to get my name out there and become a successful, great fighter, I also don't want to, because I'm big on I wouldn't say reputation. Yeah, I care about what people think of me. I really do. I do, but I don't. I care in the way that I want to represent and be known as for what I am truly am, for the type of person, for the type of fighter I am. And creating or doing certain things that go against what I stand for, I think that's something I wouldn't do, because I just don't want to set that example of me. I don't want to spread that type of movement or that way of, let's say, living to other people. Like, I'm real to myself and I want to be real to those people out there. So I think, like I said, I would draw a line to how I would promote myself. But yes, I would promote myself in a way where people are talking about me, where all eyes are on me. And yeah, I think that would help my boxing career tremendously.
Yeah.
And I slowly started doing it in my social media, but I promote myself to, like I said, the way I want to be seen. So all the motivational stuff I post on my TikTok, on my Instagram, all the quotes, all the Twitter thoughts, all the Twitter posts I write, all the tweets, like, they go along with who I am as a person, as a fighter. And I may not pull as much of a big crowd, but I'm pulling the right crowd. And if you pull the right crowd, that crowd will follow you shit wherever. Like if you really pull the right crowd and the right people with you, they will throw money at you. They will go see you fight. They will buy your merchandise because they appreciate the value you are giving them. And they kind of see themselves. Maybe some people are scared or a bit timid or they're not there yet when it comes to their confidence or taking that first step to do what they really want to do. And they see a person with similar interests like me or like you even, and they're like, damn, I want to be like that one day. Or this guy has the same mentality that he thinks, similar to what as how I do, and they follow you because you might give them that courage or that confidence to do it themselves. And I feel that's my ultimate goal right there, like getting people to do what they really want to do, giving people that hope, that faith, that confidence, that push in order for them to do what they want to do with their lives. It's something people are not really doing. Like people are not stepping up. People are not taking the first step. People are scared. And I think we're all scared at some point. I'm still scared sometimes I'm doing certain stuff, but I mean, comparing it to my movement right now, Mr. Mike Monday, the idea of it is to put yourself in uncomfortable situations to grow, to be a better person, to learn more, to explore, to gain more knowledge. Like it's gonna be scary, but that's the point of it. That's gonna help you grow. Like it's a mentality I have, and that's why I created my movement, Mr. Mike Monday. It's something I want people to really live, to really um, be aware of the fear, but don't let the fear stop you and what you really want to do.
Man, I love talking to people like you. You really like are pushing for the people. You're pushing for the people to do things that they want to do, and and while you're doing it, and I think that's awesome, man. Like what we were talking about earlier, you give off this positive energy that I don't think the world has enough of, and I love talking to people like you. Um, I think everything you said is I'm in line with it. If I can give people a little bit more of hope to do things that they want to do, I think that's my life will be fulfilled. I'm so grateful of what this show has become already. I never thought in a million years I would even have as many downloads as I have, and people listening, people hitting me up, maybe that I knew or I don't know, giving me feedback and just confidence to keep on going. And so I'm forever grateful. And I think if I can just like you said, if I can just give people a little more hope and a little more confidence or a little more way of thinking a different way, in a more positive way, then I'll die happy man.
And I think you're doing it, man. Like I may not communicate with you as often, but I'm aware of what you're doing, man. I'm seeing what you're doing on social media, on Instagram, on your clips, on your TikToks. I'm seeing the support from other people towards you. Like you're doing something very fucking cool, man. And shit, like you said, like I love hanging with people that are striving for more, that are striving to be a better person, and take a person or two along with them as well. Because I mean, at the end of the day, I think that's a big it's a big high you get as well too. Like it is a bit selfish, but it's selfish in a way where you're helping others as well. You're doing your thing, but you're giving the confidence, you're giving the encouragement to other people to do the same. And that's a great feeling you get as well for yourself, because what you're doing is of good and it's helping. You're not creating something of bad. You're not uh, building an empire or making money out of people's misery or just doing people wrong. You're doing people good, and you're making a life out of it. You're I don't know how big your platform is now, but I'm sure if it's not big now, it's going to be. You're going to be living out of this, man, and helping people on your way to where you're going.
I'm excited to watch you fight, man. I think I'm definitely going to come to at least one fight whenever you're healthy again and whenever COVID's not COVID.
You're not in Vegas, huh?
I'm in Vegas right now.
Dude, I'm gonna fight in Vegas.
Yeah.
I fought in Vegas before.
Oh yeah, we were talking about that last time you were on the
Yeah,
podcast. Yeah.
yeah, dude. Yeah, I mean that'd mean a lot, man. That'd mean a lot. That'd mean a lot if you show up. But yeah, man. My focus is right now is getting this healed up as best as I can, and just keep grinding on my fighting, man. In the meantime, I'm motivating. I'm I'm helping people out. Um, I'm making new friends, good friends, positive friends. Fuck that negativity. If you're negative, I don't want you around me.
Deadass.
I don't hate you as a person. I don't dislike you, but your energy doesn't match my energy, and I don't want your energy fucking with my energy. So all that negative shit, I don't want around me, and you certainly don't have that, man. I mean, I haven't even met you in person, man. It's the second time I seen you, through the webcam, but like I just get good vibes from you, man. You seem like a great dude, uh, great young dude, man. I'm like, it still surprises me how intelligent you are, man. And you're only what, 21, 22?
21.
You're a smart guy, man. I can see it. You're a smart guy. Uh, I mean, this podcast, it's something great you're doing, and you're getting positive feedback from it, and just keep grinding, bro. Keep grinding. I can't see. I'm excited for what's next for you, bro.
Thanks, man. For you as well, too, man. I'm excited for you. I'm excited for not only just boxing, but like your platform and everything that's gonna become. But I think we've been talking for a long time. I think that's a good way to end it. Any last thoughts you want to give to the people or me?
uh no, man, like I said, I just wish people good. I would tell people to, like I said, be careful who you hang with, man. Like, and everything is about energy. If you are hanging in the wrong environment with wrong people, you're going to be doing the wrong things. You're going to be taking poor decisions, and that's going to lead you to a negative, to a bad life. So just be careful, be cautious. And it hurts. It hurts, dropping a friend or two, that you might have known since kindergarten. But hey, it has to be done if you want to be, mentally stable and grow. Because people who are mediocre, who are not as positive, they don't want to grow. They're comfortable where they're at, and man, you can't judge them for that. But if you want to grow, you have to be aware of who you're messing with, and you might have to drop a friend or two and gain a friend or two, and it's gonna hurt. I've done it, but hey, you're gonna see the results in the future. As for you, like I said, I wish you the best, man. Like, I really enjoy our talks, man. I really enjoy the stuff, the people you bring in. You bring people from different backgrounds, and real informative at times, and real entertaining at times as well, man. So you have the whole package, man. You're a great communicator. Uh, you're a dope, dude. I thank you for inviting me to your podcast for a second time, and a third time wouldn't hurt. Maybe
No,
in the
wouldn't.
future.
Definitely. Maybe in person too.
Yeah, dude, I'd be down. I'd be
Yeah.
down, man. Hopefully, we can make that happen in the future.
Yeah, man. All right. You have a great rest of your day, man. And I'll talk to you soon.
All right, bro. Take care.
See you, man.